You know how I said that there was only one film to see this month? Well, I forgot there was one I just saw a few days ago. So here's a review for that one. It is the trilogy Bad Boys for Life. Let's talk about it. So this is a movie that's been speculated about being made for a while. We had no idea if it was going to be made. We don't even know who's going to do it, who's going to direct it. So finally, it's here. Bad Boys for Life. I have to say I was very excited when I first saw the trailer for this. I do like Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, filmed here in Miami. So yeah, it was a lot of excitement when those two films were filmed here, and a lot of excitement when that third one was filmed here too. And a lot more Miami shots, I think, than the first two. But nothing wrong with that. Just like a little bit more showing off of this beautiful city. So yeah, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Real glad to see them back. So to get into this movie, what is it about? So we have an aging Will Smith and Martin Lawrence coming back as the bad boys of the Miami PD. And you can kind of expect what this film's going to be about, especially since it's been a long gap and we have them a little bit aging. It's going to be that kind of film where, okay, they're older now. They can't do a lot of stuff that they did back then. How are they going to kind of cope with that? How do they get around doing their jobs like that? How are their lives like that? And yeah, that's kind of what the movie is. Well, okay, not exactly what the movie is, but that's just like one small part of it. The whole idea of this movie is pretty much that obviously there's a bad guy. They need to get at Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. This time, it's specifically aimed towards Will Smith. You will find out why when you watch the film. It is an interesting idea of why everyone's going after Will Smith in this film. I have to say I actually didn't have a problem with it. You have this pretty much like they're like Mexican cartels. They're going after Will Smith for wronging them in the past for like a bust that he helped on, and they pretty much just want to get revenge. I think that's the most I can say about this film without giving any other kind of spoilers in it. So the whole thing is that through the whole fight that's going on, Will Smith does get hurt. And he's kind of feeling a little bit more vulnerable right now. Especially when you see Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, he's like this real big badass. And so is Martin Lawrence. I mean, they're the bad boys. That's what they are. They're the bad boys. They're like untouchable. They can't be hurt. So he's starting to realize, like, with time passing by, with his age, and he's human. And the movie's kind of geared a little bit more towards that. And it's a different take to it. I mean, it's definitely a lot different from the first two that Michael Bay did. And I mean, thank God he didn't do this one. Because as fun as the first two are, they're not great films. That hurts to say, but they're not great films. They're fun films. They're fun films, and that's what I can say about that. So with this one, it's still fun, but they actually try to add a little bit more story to it. They try to add a little bit more like human, like, to the characters, and like stories you kind of want to relate to with. With that being said, you still get some of the Michael Bay-isms in the film. Some things maybe there's one scene in particular you'll notice right away, but you still kind of get like that 360 shot of like the dramatic shot of around the characters, or like certain things, kind of like paying a little homage to the Michael Bay-ness from the last two films. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is actually a pretty good film. It's kind of like when if you'll use as an example, when they did the Fast and Furious franchise. When Fast and Furious came out, the first one was fun. It was good. Then the second one came out. A lot of people probably didn't really enjoy that. I enjoyed it, not because it was filmed in Miami, but I enjoyed it. And then you had Tokyo Drift, not so good. Then you had the fourth one, again, not so good. And then you had Fast 5. Fast 5 revamped that franchise because it took it it added a different aspect to it. That's kind of what Bad Boys for Life is. And they added a different aspect to it, trying to evolve the franchise. And yeah, I mean, it works in this film. It really does. It really works in this film. It's still a really good story, and it makes you want, I guess, a little bit more. I don't think this movie really misses a beat. I mean, it's still funny. There are some things that bug me, I think, a little bit. I mean, it's kind of one thing in particular that happens in the beginning, because the whole thing is they're this whole Mexican cartel thing is going after Will Smith, and they want to make him suffer. So how do they make him suffer? They're gonna try to take out all the guys that wronged the cartel, and thinking that's going to make Will Smith suffer. So when they start doing that, he's not suffering. He could really care less about what the cartel are doing at that point. It's just small things like that in the story that kind of they're saying they want him to suffer. They're building up to this, and they're gonna save him for last specifically because he's the one who wronged them the most. And it's just some parts in the story just kind of don't really add up with what the reasoning is, and I'm okay, that doesn't really make too much sense. I mean, why? And even some of the investigation scenes that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence do, I mean, they're literally just investigating stuff with no reason. I mean, obviously with reason, but it's okay, how did you come to that conclusion is what I'm saying. What in your head led you to believe that let me go here to get some answers or to get some clues? What plus what made you do that? It was just things like that also that kind of bugged me. And it's just it's kind of in this whole film, it's they're in this world where nothing can happen to them, or well, obviously things can happen to them as you see in the film, but it's almost the rules for certain things don't apply to them. It's guns and stuff can hurt them now, but the law enforcement, all the rules out the window. it doesn't apply to them. I mean, there's probably one thing with consequence that happens to them, but rules, who cares? Break the rules. I live by my own rules. That's kind of how the film is. And okay, so they can literally just do whatever they want in this whole film. No consequences. Forget the law. Forget government. Forget all that stuff. I'm the law. I mean, that was probably one thing that probably bothered me a little bit. I mean, it can't really. I mean, if you walk into this letting think that's going to bother you, it shouldn't. I mean, if that's one thing you want to focus on, but other than that, you can't really overthink this film. It's Bad Boys. If you were able to watch the first one and the second one and enjoy that, you're going to enjoy this one. So, with all that being said, still a great film. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith together, still a great duo. I hope they make part 4. It would be really interesting to see if they make a part 4. I don't know exactly what storyline they're going to go with that, but it was funny, it was fun, it had enough action, it had really cool action. A lot of the shots in those action scenes were actually pretty interesting. A couple in particular towards the end. And one thing I forgot to mention was the new characters that they introduced in the movie. That was one thing I think a lot of people were worrying about. I was a little worried about it too as well, but the way they play them in this film, they didn't use too much of them, and they didn't make them like too overbearing. They weren't like so annoying or anything. They were just the right like character backgrounds and like character like appearances in the film. They played their roles fine. That was another thing. And so with that, yeah, Bad Boys for Life. Really good film. Definitely should go check it out. Probably the second film again of this month that you should go check out. And don't overthink it. It's a real fun, just action movie that kind of reminds you of like a nostalgic 90s, early 2000s like action film. It's really fun, and there's a little bit of story into it. So you get, it kind of balances in between both. Yeah, some of the things don't work out, but still a really good movie. So my review, Bad Boys for Life. My final review. Oh, not my final review. My rating. My rating for this film would definitely be a solid 4. Yeah. Again, say it one more time. Still working on the labeling for that. I will hopefully have that by the next one. I'll try. It's really hard to figure out what exactly I want that to be and what I want the other one to be. So yeah, next film. I'll let you know on Instagram this week what it will be. Other than that, yeah, I'm probably going to do 2 films this week. If not 2, then I will definitely do the 1. Because there's one I know I definitely did want to see and kind of check out to see what it was. I think it's a horror film. If not that, then there is another film that I wanted to see. That's with Nicolas Cage, but I have to see what theaters are going to be playing that, because I don't think that's going to be a very huge selection of theaters playing it. So if not that, then definitely the other one, because the other one is being marketed very big. So I will see you for that review. I will put all 3 of these up as soon as I can. And again, thank you. I will see you guys hopefully in a few days. Peace out.